Uh, we welcome today Chinmay Nagarkar. So he's running for election for the school board in Seattle. It's called what is like? How do you say? Iswaka School District.
I'm running for board director of the Issaquah School District for the second
Yeah,
position.
excellent. And Chinmayji, like, tell us briefly how you were interested in like running for these positions. Like, yeah, what was that thought process? Um, like you, like in our conversations, like you told us that you saw what the school district was doing, like how it like helped one of your kids. Please, like, go ahead and
Yeah,
give a brief introduction.
I can give a quick 1 or 2 minute overview of what led me to run. So I moved into this district in 2013, partly because the quality of the schools. And we always think about the schools when we move as families, and I think this was no different. In fact, there are people, families from outside this district in the nearby areas like the Tahoma School District or the Kent School District who have moved into the Issaquah School District because of the quality of the schools. My daughter had special needs growing up. At the age until the age of 7, she could not walk, so she used a walker in her elementary school. And throughout her schooling, all the way to high school, she had an IEP, which is a special plan for special needs kids. And the school district did a great job with her. She graduated 2 years ago, and now she's doing psychology in Seattle University. But my son, who is 7 years younger, when he went into middle school, I noticed that a lot of things had changed, or at least I had become more aware, perhaps. One of the things that happened that really struck me was he was very excited to go to middle school because he had been told in elementary school that you can have math clubs or other special interest clubs for chess, etc. And so when he went into middle school, having a gift in math, the first thing he wanted to do was start a math club. And he asked his teacher, and his teacher said, "No, we can't do it because we don't have the money to pay a teacher 1 hour a day, 1 hour a week to proctor a class, a math club classroom." And so he said to the teacher, and then he took it to the administrators, the vice principal, that, "Hey, I can bring the problems, I can solve the problems, I can bring the solutions, I can teach the kids." He was just excited to talk about math and have a bunch of friends who love math at his school. But they said no, because we don't have the money. And I looked into it. I thought that this school district was a rich school district. We spend $400 million a year. We have 20,000 students in this district. That puts us at $20,000 per student per year being spent. And this is more than the University of Washington in-state tuition. It's a lot of money. And it's in fact one of the top per student spends in the country. And so I was quite surprised by this. And then when I started digging into the spending and the results, I was just sucked into that whole world of quite interesting data and quite an interesting culture in the school district. And I think that uh, I had no choice at that point to take out my son, first of all, because I had to make sure his math gift was taken care of. He just stood 13th in the United States in the International Kangaroo Math Olympiad with 6 million participants worldwide. And so that paid off. But over the course of the year, I also wanted to see how can I send him back into school, because there is a experience that you get from the perspectives of all the other kids in the room in your school. You learn things in a way that you cannot learn in homeschool, even if you supplement it with some social activity. And so I started digging into more of the issues that are going on. And I started to realize that the students in the district are quite unhappy, the kids who attend school. So, for example, in the middle school, they do a survey where they talk about how do you feel that you can do your best work in the classroom? And 70% of the kids say no. And then in high school, in Issaquah High School, for example, 40% of kids say in the exit survey that they did not feel comfortable speaking out in the classroom. And my son experienced some of this too in middle school, where he asked questions to his teachers, and his teachers were so upset by the questions that they complained to the principal and told other kids to not speak to him, or that there was something wrong with him for asking questions, and they bullied him, etc. There was a little bit of that. Of course, that could have been taken care of, but I was just shocked by the data, the amount of this problem, the size of this problem, the number of students who are feeling this way. And when I saw that data, which was just actually just 4 or 5 months ago, I took him out of school almost a year ago. So 4 or 5 months ago, I saw that. I said, you know what? This means that there's a whole lot of kids who are suffering in silence in this district. Nobody's paying attention to what's actually going on. Everybody is focused on culture wars and distractions and performative actions of the board that create controversy, but no one's trying to make sure that our kids and their future is secured. So therefore, I jumped into the race to try to make a difference.
Chinmay, I have a couple of questions. Is it because those teachers are unqualified, so that's why they're kind of scared of answering your son's question? Is that a possibility?
So I've thought a lot about why and what has happened. What happens is, first I started talking. I started to reach out to teachers, administrators, parents. I have knocked on more than 2,500 doors, and I have talked to at least 300 people, person to person, at their doorstep, and gotten feedback from them. And these are all kinds of, I've met administrators even, which is very rare because there's only maybe 3 dozen administrators in the district. So that's the number of doors I've knocked. And everyone blames someone else, right? The administrators blame the teachers blame the parents blame someone else. It's a circular mess. And I started looking into what could be one silver bullet to solve this problem, or what could be one thing we could do to get started on solving these problems. Not just the problem with academic excellence and safety, but also fiscal prudence and making sure that teachers have the freedom to innovate and make changes as the world changes around them. And so I found that it's a very simple, the root cause is a very simple root cause. The board of a school district, at least in Washington State, has one job, very important and a very urgent job. They have to hire a superintendent. The superintendent is their only employee, and they have to set goals for the superintendent. The superintendent in our district gets paid about $400,000 a year, which is a great salary for anyone in education. And they have to manage a $400 million budget for the district. Our job as school board members, we are unpaid, our only job is to set goals. And what have we been doing? The board has been setting subjective goals for the superintendent for the last several years. So for example, for academic excellence, the goal might say something to the effect that the superintendent shall endeavor to do their best to ensure that academic excellence and the scores in mathematics, science, etc., are up to state level standards, etc., etc., etc. None of these goals, or very few of them, have numbers in them. They have no metrics in them. So now the fact is that right now we are about 10 to 15% below our pre-COVID rates when it comes to school 10th grade standardized scores that are from tests that are subscribed by the or prescribed by the state. And so in these state test scores, if we are 10, 15% below par, we need to come back to pre-COVID levels. We need a goal for that. We need to say in the first year, superintendent, you're going to bring that back 5%, 10%, get it back on level. Next year, do better than last year, improve scores by 10%. Those are the kinds of goals that we need to set so that the right behaviors are encouraged. If 4 out of 10 kids in Issaquah School District are unhappy with the schools, so unhappy that they don't feel comfortable speaking out, well, there has to be a goal that says, bring that 40% dissatisfaction rate in high schools down to 10%. Bring the 70% dissatisfaction rate in middle schools down to 20% in 1 year, and then down to at par or below 10% every year going forward. There are no such goals for the superintendent. When you don't have those goals, what does the superintendent do to prove that they performed and that they should continue their contract at the end of the year? All of their evidence is performative, right? The teachers were given this training, and this is in the data. They provide this evidence in written reports at the end of the year. I was shocked to see this. We did this training. We hired so many people. We spent so much time on this or that. We wrote this. We published this statement, and so on and so forth. So, for example, in DEI, they will talk about some of the controversial things that they do that create all kinds of strife in the community and create all kinds of media attention. And they say, oh, this is a very brave thing. But the fact of the matter is, while they're doing this, 2% of the kids in our school district are Black, but 14% of the kids who are suspended are Black. That's a 7x difference. If you have special needs, think about this, special needs, you are twice as likely to get suspended from school. And not only that, we spent $80 million on special needs out of that $400 million budget. So with $80 million, you're still suspending special needs kids. And you are doing worse than that. If you are a special needs kid who got suspended, you are more likely to be suspended out of school. That is, there are two kinds of suspensions, either in school or out of school. And if you're special needs, you're more likely to be suspended out of school than in school if you get suspended. So think about this. You are a special needs kid and you need more care than all the other kids. That's why you're special needs. And yet you're putting that problem off on the parents, right? Who are already under weather and already under, busy and have challenges. And this is what we're doing. And this is unbelievable. It's an $80 million budget for special needs, and this is what we're doing. We need to have metrics to bring this back down. Once we have that metric at the superintendent level, it's the superintendent's job to drive the behavior and the method, the processes and the behaviors at the individual, down to the individual classroom, to make sure that we start coming out of this mess. But without those goals, it's all performative, it's all activity, it's all input metrics. There is no output metric, there is no measurement, there is no feedback loop. It's all heat, wasted energy. There's no useful energy being created in the system. If you're an engineer, you'll understand these terms perhaps, but in general, it's a big waste of money, right? So this is the reason why we have such a big problem. And this is the reason why we get distracted all the time with all these performative things. And we don't pay attention to the data because the data is buried deep inside layers and layers of websites and links and all kinds of PDF documents and so on. Very hard to get to it. But I got to it, and when I saw it, I was just shocked by what they're doing.
Chinmayji, Vibhusiji have a question. So Vibhusiji, go ahead with your question. Yeah.
Thank you very much for taking my question. I had requested that I will have to leave around 8:30 or so because there are guests at home for dinner and I'm absconding. So Chinmayji, I want to compliment you for your outstanding research done and the way you are involved and you feel so committed to take on this. It's like you consider this role more important than being the president of India, and I want to applaud you for that. President of America. So that's I'm very proud of you. And the fact that you are a Stanford alumni, so it is also adds to your depth of understanding you have studied, you have been through a good, rigorous educational initiative. So I want to ask you a very simple thing that, the current board level people, what is their commitment? See, you pointed out the flaws and what is going on there. My simple question is, what is their current level of commitment? And now that you have entered the fray, how are they viewing you? Because you need votes to win. And my thing is that how are you campaigning and how is your efforts going on? And I wish you all the best from the bottom of my heart, and for everybody who is joining. And my final request as here is that Vidyasagar ji, Ankush Bhandari ji, I'm seeing you after a long time. Santosh ji, Uma ji, please show your presence with your physical viewing, because that is important, because I don't know you most. I don't know you. So it would be nice, unless you are totally in a mind that you can't come on the screen, please do. Please do. It helps. Rajiv ji, thank you very much. Uma ji, good to see you. I'm glad you listened. Chinmay ji, that's the power of words. So go ahead. What you have to make the election, you have to win the election and get going with that. So tell us your punchline in 3 minutes flat. I'm talking to you as a TV reporter right now.
All right. Yeah, no, I think that you asked a couple of questions. Do you want me to take the 3-minute punchline, or do you want me to go back to the school board and what's going on?
3-minute punchline. That's a messaging, very important. Your time is the essence for you.
Yeah.
We can keep talking for all night long, but for you, you have to deliver the message, because I believe, mark my quote and keep it in front of you, words matter, words change minds, and minds move mountains. Go ahead.
I moved into this district because of the quality of the education. I moved to the United States in 2000, and I was so impressed by the education system. But in the last 4 or 5 years, we've become distracted by culture war issues and other unimportant issues that are not directly impacting our schools. Now, in the Issaquah School District, we have issues with safety. Kids are behaving in ways that are not acceptable in the classroom, but teachers too are feeling unsafe, and some kids are being bullied out of school. We need to make sure that is taken care of first. Once we have that and we have peace of mind in this classroom, we need to focus on academic excellence. Our scores have dropped in spite of the fact that we have doubled our spending in the last 5 years over the same period. Our scores in math, science, English language, arts, and attendance too has dropped between 10 and 15%. Let's come back to par. We spend $50 million in this district on district administration, but only 10 million on CTE and vocational training. Vocational training and CTE is the future. We need to invest in it. We need to double or triple spending in CTE. In the world of AI, plumbers, electricians, advanced manufacturing, nursing, and these kinds of, and carpentry and so on, these are the professions where there will be a lot of jobs. And the fact is that if you have a CTE program, your graduation rates go up, more of your talent is used fully, and you don't have to take on a $50,000 student loan debt to get a job. So that's number 2. Number 3, fiscal prudence. In the last 2 years, 2 bond efforts have failed. And that is because the voters of this district, 7 out of 10, whom do not have kids of school-going age, they're taxpayers, and they've stopped trusting the board to spend the money wisely. We need to get back that trust. So in order to do this, I am going to ensure that we have objective goals for academic excellence, for safety, for student satisfaction. I'll create a promised versus delivered dashboard to track what promises we've made financially, as well as in terms of superintendent goals, and make sure we track that on a quarterly or even a monthly basis, and stay on track for the next 4 years, recover all of our loss from COVID and get even better than where we were before. So that is my plan, and that is my promise. I think that I can work with the board to make this happen. Yes, the board will be resistant to new ideas, but they will also welcome new ideas, because I think at the end of the day, they also want to solve these problems, and they also have to be elected, and the next board member who gets elected will need to be accountable for the performance of the school district to the people. So let's make sure that we all work together in the Issaquah School District, the board, the superintendent, the teachers, and bring out the best in all of us.
I want to thank you very much for such an incisive statement that you made, and your observation that board will be hesitant, resistant, because change is troublesome, change is difficult, but we are living in a totally different technology era where you can't hide anymore. So if they are not doing something, they can be exposed. And you are right, you have to do that in their next campaign.
Yeah.
So all the best, and I'm delighted for your candidacy, and I'm very grateful because this education engagement by Indians who are generally above average educated in America, we need to get involved in the local communities starting from PTA. I have been saying this for years. Get
Exactly.
engaged in your PTA onwards to education board and everything else. That's where everything happens. So I'm very grateful that you took that challenge, and I'm very hopeful you will win. Because after all, Seattle may be a very woke city and whatever else, but there is something that is critical. People do look at where my advantage lies, and education is the key. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Vibhuti.
Chinmayji, uh,
Can
see,
I do a quick response to that, if you don't mind?
sure, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
And just a small clarification. So I think Vibhuti ji was right on spot. And I think that oftentimes early on in my campaign, there was social media attacks or social media mudslinging. And, I was a little bit distracted by that. My wife is still sometimes distracted by it. And so these culture wars can become distracting, certainly. And that is the intent. And so when I've been knocking on doors, let me tell you, almost 8 out of 10 people that I knock on, or even 9 out of 10, they're receptive to the message. They are not in their own little world of make believe. They just want to know what's going on in the schools, and they're curious to know, and they have feedback, and they have experience and life experience that they share with me. So I don't want to characterize the whole of the Seattle district or this greater Seattle area as anything particular. I think they're just human beings, and at the end of the day, they have children, they have grandchildren, they have homes, they have property taxes, and they are just trying to live their life. Yes, they're very busy, and they do get distracted, and we all get distracted. I used to get distracted all the time. But when the data is put in front of them, as they say in Sanskrit, Satyameva Jayate, and at the end of the day, the Satya is nothing but truth and nothing but data. It's what's actually happening, not a story or opinion that's being told by in some social media echo chamber, right? And so when that is exposed in front of people, they are so receptive. Yesterday, I was talking to this young man with his girlfriend who were leaving their apartment complex in Issaquah. And I said, hey, I left that flyer on your doorstep because I knew that I had visited that place already. And he was reading it as he was walking down the stairs and going to his car. And then he put that thing on the hood of his car. And he started asking me, oh, what is this? And what is that? And I explained it to him. This is a young man, about 20 years old, right? Just out of school, trying to make his way in life in the same complex. And he was very, very receptive, and we shook hands. And I was so happy that young people are now paying attention. And I want more young people to come out and vote. Older people, yes, they're already aware of these issues and they pay attention to the news, but the young people and the parents, oftentimes, the younger you are, you don't have kids, you're not paying attention to this particular aspect of life. But more and more are paying attention because they have gone through the system. Many young people tell me that I felt the same way in high school, who have recently graduated. Parents tell me that they've had challenges, but they don't know how to describe the challenge. They don't know where the problem lies or what the structure of the issue is. And when I share it with them, they're very receptive. So I think the voters of Issaquah will do the right thing. And if not, if I don't win, if somebody else wins, I'm sure that this whole process of debate and forums and all of the conversations I've had, even with the other candidates in open forums, in multiple forums, including one in Issaquah recently, one in Providence Point next week. These conversations will create awareness of these problems, and whatever happens, these facts are now out there, and by exposing these facts, we have done a service to our children, and that is, at the end of the day, all I want is to make sure our children are taken care of.
Thank you. And all the best. You shall win. And as my father used to wish me all the time, his words I always miss. Today I'm passing it on to you. Whenever I went anywhere, he always used to bless me with Vijay Bhava. So today I'm saying Vijay Bhava Chinmayji. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Mehulji, go ahead and ask your the question to Chinmayji.
I've been waiting. I've been waiting for a long time, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Oh,
Please go
Vidya
go ahead,
Sagarji, you were withheld because you did not show your face. So you are welcome.
Okay.
Please, sir.
So
Please.
Thanks for taking my question, Chinmayji. So regarding the quality of teachers in last 4 years in Issaquah, Issaquah school district. I mean, is it because of DEI hiring in teachers and unqualified teachers are hired based on whatever DEI?
Yeah, I think that this is a complicated issue, right? In the sense that, first of all, there's a culture war going on around us. So whenever we speak about these topics, it is a fraught topic. Just by saying the word DEI, it's very funny, right? At one time, I had the words diversity in my candidate statement. And someone told me that if you put this here, one entire group of voters is not going to vote for you. Even if you just use the word diversity, it was not used in any controversial way. It was just, in the sense of unity in diversity, right? But they said, if you use it, people are going to be triggered by it. A lot of these words, I don't know if you guys are familiar with, I don't know if the audience will be familiar with LLM, but the way LLMs work, ChatGPT or all these AI tools that we have nowadays, is something called auto-regression. So if you say certain words, then what the LLM does is it takes those words and it predicts the next word. That's all it does, predicts the next word that is most likely based on all of the literature it has studied to that point. And that word is automatically produced by the LLM, dropped on the in your screen, and then it takes that word and all the previous words to do that same thing again and again and again and produces an entire paragraph. Now, this process of generating words and generating reactions in a instinctual way based on prior training is what we are doing too. Sometimes when we hear the word diversity, we are tuned to react in a certain way, no matter what is being said or what the meaning of what is being said is. We don't understand it. We just sort of react. And so I want to be careful about this. Now, what is happening is the following. We do need diversity of perspectives in our schools, right? So we have a diverse ethnic and religious, cultural background, etc., in our schools, and we do need diversity of perspectives. But what we are doing is we are replacing diversity of perspectives, diversity of ideas, and the synthesis of creative solutions that comes from those ideas. All of that is being replaced by simply diversity of immutable characteristics like skin color, like your religion of birth, or like your national origin. None of these things can be changed. These are not like ideas. These are not ideas. Ideas can be changed. You exchange ideas, you exchange perspectives, and then you get something new from that and you incorporate it into your life. That's the whole point of exchanging diverse ideas, because you are enriched by them. But that's not possible when you just have diversity of skin color or national origin and so on. So we have used that as a proxy, but we have stopped over there. That's okay to use it as a proxy, as a starting point. But once you do that, we must also make sure that we are getting the results from that diversity. And because, like I said, they have stopped looking at results and they have stopped looking at metrics, they are now hiring not for results, but for optics. They're hiring so that it looks good on paper. And that's, you will see this in the superintendent self-evaluations. They will tell you the diversity hiring metrics, but at the same time, the scores are falling, the black kids are being punished at 7 times the rate, Hispanic kids are being punished at 3 times the rate, how everything is going in the wrong direction. It's all performative, and we have to stop that. Once we stop that, we will get the right balance between hiring diverse from diverse backgrounds and getting results from those diverse backgrounds.
Thank you, Chinmay ji.
Like
Thank you.
anybody
Yeah.
has any? Yeah, go ahead, Mehul ji. Yes.
And I mean, if somebody else has a question, I'm happy to.
I think I saw like Umaji's hand up. So.
No, I didn't have a question. I'm sorry. No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. So
I'm-
Mehul ji, go ahead. Yeah.
Chinmay ji, this actually takes off to some extent on your previous answer. We understand that, and from what I understand, this first happened in Washington State. I'm not sure which school district it happened in, and that was this whole process of diluting syllabi down in order to benefit students who were weak, because it was assumed that students from certain backgrounds, particularly racial backgrounds, would not be able to do as well as others. And as a result, in math, which is a subject that your son is so keen about, they had this introduction of giving higher grades for students who came up with approximate answers as opposed to actual correct answers for problems. Now, I fully commend what you're doing, and I do think that it's extremely important. Would you have a solution to offer the school board to try and go back to raise students who might be, from weaker backgrounds, probably uneducated parents or others, to bring them up to the level of other students, so that you can go back into a kind of competitive classroom environment? And so that you can have, a merit-based evaluation methodology. Do you have any thoughts about that? Any plans for that?
Yeah, I think one thing that I think we should be careful about is, just as I was saying, that we cannot focus on immutable characteristics when we hire for perspective. But we can as a proxy to start with, but we should also focus on results. I think that we should also not assume that there is any kind of, there might be, but it may not be. So there's something called correlation, there's something called causation, right? So if you take some aspect of demographic characteristic like race, and you try to create a correlation with scores, for example, you might find a correlation. Does that mean there's causation? Not necessarily. And so we have to be cognizant of that. It could be that the causation is economic, or it could be the causation is language barriers, or it could be dyslexia, or it could be the special needs, could be many different reasons. And it could be that there's a lot of interaction between these different causes. So I don't think we can start there, although the school board often does and speaks in that language. I think we should assume that all of us want our kids to do better in the classroom to different degrees. Yes, we may have different standards and from different backgrounds. And I do know that some people who come here and get advanced degrees, they want their kids to get advanced degrees. And so by that definition, they want their kids to get good scores in math, science, and English. And so they focus on that. But there are other students who don't want that. They want better scores in, they want to do vocational training. They want to go into the trades, become an apprentice, go and learn to work with their hands and all of that. So I think there's different talents and different ways. And I think at the end of the day, my motto is no talent left behind. And I want to make sure that when I look at any child, I know what their talent is. Not me personally, but the school district or the teachers and the administrators know that this kid is good in this. This kid needs to be given more opportunities in this respect because he's good at art or she's good at math and so on. And I think going back to your point about mathematics and scoring, what we have to make sure of is that, so this is a very typical administrative response to falling scores or disparities, right? The response is, let's just drop the standards so that we don't have to do anything differently, and the scores will just come up, and everybody will look better than they are looking right now. It's a very administrative, superficial response to an actual real challenge. And so what you see in the school district, in the Issaquah school district, is while the standard test scores are falling, the graduation rates are going up and the grades that are being given are going up, right? So there's sort of a grade deflation, right? So the value of that grade is going down because you are giving kids more time to do the work. You're giving them multiple attempts. You're giving them, special dispensation of some kind, and sometimes based on special needs, but not always. Even regular students are given special dispensation on occasion. And so that reduction of the standard is a problem because it creates the false impression for parents who are watching these grades. Oh, wow, like you got an A plus. Oh, wow, you got, A in all your subjects. That's wonderful. But they don't realize what's really happening is that the standards has gone down. So every A is now actually used to be a B and every A plus used to be an A. So what I have proposed in my last forum is instead of this kind of a metric, graduation rate or grades, because graduation rates are based on grades, not based on standard test scores. What we have to do is have some metrics for the bottom 20th percentile of the classroom. It doesn't matter race, none of that matters. The performance matters. Bottom 20th percentile, raise their scores, raise their graduation rates, raise their standard test scores, and make sure that the correlation between standard test scores and grades does not go out of whack. I know that standard test scores are not everything, but I'm not talking about improving test scores by themselves. I'm talking about the correlation between scores and grades. And we need to maintain that correlation so that we are not making the mistake of grade inflation.
Thank you. Thank you. This is something that concerns me because I have a daughter who's getting ready to join med school. And Texas has its own problems, which are probably as severe as they are in Issaquah, even though she's in one of the state's higher rated school districts. And the only thing that I've been telling her has been to work hard because the difference usually in earnings between a tier 1 university and a tier 3 university is $150,000 a year. Every statistic shows us that. So, I mean, there has to be some way to push students into the better universities or into the better technical schools as well, as you rightly point out. Thank you.
I think if you can hold the standards fixed and you raise the lower 20th percentile, the whole thing will be raised up. The average gets raised up instead of saying, let's just lower the standard so everybody looks. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Chinmayji. I sincerely hope that you are successful. This will help a lot of children and it will also help the future of a lot of families because education is probably the easiest way to succeed in life and to do well. I think what you're doing is a very noble task. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Vidyasagarji, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, so I have two questions. That first is that what are your plans for gifted and talented students? Because I don't know about specifically about Issaquah County, but overall in the public schools in the US, as somebody already said, that there is a dumbing down of curriculum. So and that is unfair to gifted and talented students students in my opinion. And then the other question is that in STEM subjects, US has been among industrialized nations. US has been at the bottom 10, So I mean, especially science and maths. So I mean, in your school district, if you are elected, what are your plans to improve this?
Yeah, so now we're getting into some details like curriculum also. I want to just make one point about unfairness for highly capable students or gifted students. I think that the dumbing down, if there is dumbing down, is unfair to all students because all students are going to suffer they may not realize it, but they'll all suffer. The reason why we might think that it's worse for highly capable students is because their parents are paying attention. They happen to be paying attention, and they notice that my son is not, or my daughter is not doing as well as I was in school or as I expect, and yet they're getting good grades, and they kind of realize that there's a dumping down, and that makes them feel unhappy about it. But it's at the end of the day, whether the parents realize it or not, it's unfair to the kids. And not only that, it's unfair to the country, because we are producing children who are not aware of what the standards are in the rest of the world, that they are being held to a lower standard, and therefore they're never being challenged. And so when we go and compete in the world, we are going to have a problem with competition. We will not be able to compete successfully, and we will suffer that in the long term. So I think this is a disservice to the whole nation at the end of the day, if you really think about it. Now, in terms of the curriculum, and actually, can you repeat your second part of your question about?
I mean, it's the same line that international among industrialized nations, U.S. students. Among the first 10 countries, U.S.
Oh, yeah, right.
US is at the bottom. At the bottom.
Remember. Yeah, I remember now. Okay, so let me say, when I came to this country, when I went to Stanford University in 2000, I saw kids coming from all over the country, right? From all kinds of backgrounds, but from local, schools. At that time, international enrollment was not very high. And I was so impressed by the creativity and the energy and the kinds of stuff that these kids had been learning in school. I was just blown away, and I felt like I don't belong here, right? It is so good. And now, I don't think that's true anymore. And we've now fallen behind. And so it is definitely a problem. And I think if you look at international standards and international scoring, we are now not anywhere near the top. And we are somewhere certainly not competitive with the top universities, the top talent coming from India and China, etc. We need to bring that back. Our universities are still world-class when it comes to facilities and research and funding. And so all this talent from all over the world still comes here. But until we have a homegrown industry of, we have a homegrown production of these brilliant students, we cannot rely on importing this talent, because at some point that talent will go back. And what will we be left with? We will just have trained all these great students and send them back to their home countries. And that's no way to build a nation. So in terms of improving things, I think that one of the first things I learned as I worked with engineers in the top companies where the most brilliant engineers come and work, Amazon, Google, these kinds of companies, is that you have to get out of their way. You must get out of their way and let them be creative. And so in our schools right now, we spend $50 million, for example, in Issaquah School District on district administration. What is the purpose of administration roles? The purpose is to create procedures, to create red tape, to tell teachers how to do their job. And so all of this red tape is weighing teachers down. When I talk to them, they tell me that, hey, we expect more support. And when I say, what do you mean by support? Do you mean more money? They say, no, not more money. What we want is, we want the district administration or the administration in the school, the principal, vice principal, and others, to allow us to do creative things in the classroom and then support us if something goes slightly wrong, right? Because when you try to do something new, things can go wrong. And what has happened is that the administrations in these, they're very averse to making mistakes, because somehow they think that doing an experiment and trying something new in a classroom, teaching math in a different way, or doing a physics. Oh, I was talking to a chemistry teacher. He was telling me that in my chemistry labs, I used to let kids do chemistry experiments. And sometimes there would be a small, not an explosion, but, a small fire or a small something. And, I let them do it because they learned from that process and it wasn't hurting them. And I was making sure it wouldn't hurt them. And I said, wow, that's great. That means that you were doing something to encourage them to understand the process and the chemistry and the experiments in a very visceral way. And he said, the administrators came in and they told me, no, we can't do all this. This is too dangerous. This is too unsafe. We expect you to sit in a classroom and teach them from a textbook while they're sitting in front of you, and that's what we have to do, because we can't have this lab and all of these chemicals being put together. Think about this. This is an administrative way of looking at chemistry, right? In a chemistry lab, that's how you learn in chemistry. You mix things up and you see what happens, right? Because you don't want to have explosive reactions, but you do want to try new things. And this is a teacher right close to me near Cougar Mountain Elementary School who told me this, chemistry teacher. So we need to let teachers do their thing. And what I'm going to do is encourage teacher-led initiatives. I'm going to look into how we can fund and support teachers who want to try something new with new equipment or new labs through nonprofits. I'm going to give teachers a certain visual recognition. One of the problems is Washington is number 2 in teacher pay. So yes, we are doing okay in teacher pay, and teacher pay is controlled by the teacher unions. But one thing that I've noticed is in the school board meetings, we don't honor the teachers. We don't elevate them. We honor the administrators come in, the CFO comes in, all the other people who are doing important work but not teaching, which is the primary function of the school district, come in and speak and are given applause. But I would like teachers to be recognized in every school board meeting. 1 teacher to be recognized, 2 teachers to be recognized in every school board meeting. Give them time to speak. Give them time to air how they succeeded, what they did that worked, and what they tried out that did not work. So we can elevate them as a profession. We can increase their morale, and at the same time give them the freedom to innovate and bring us back to standing.
Will you create more AP classes for advanced students?
Yeah, I don't think that's a board decision, right? So we do have AP classes, but one of the things that we don't have, as far as I know, is equity when it comes to AP curriculum, right? So for instance, some schools might offer 1 AP class, some schools don't. This is particularly true, not just in AP, but also in CTE, vocational training programs. Not all schools offer all training programs. And so student who wants to work in nursing and happens to live in Sammamish may not be able to get, just as an example, this may not be exactly true, may not be able to get that course and has to go somewhere else. And it means that they have extra transport requirements, etc. So I want to make sure that we have equity in all the classes, and we make sure that all schools offer the same classes, and we don't penalize students for being in the wrong part of the district. As part of that, what will happen is we will have to introduce AP classes in cases where they're not offered in a particular school, right? And so that's very important. I will not propose reducing the number of AP classes in any given school to bring the whole thing sort of down to a common denominator. But I will request that we take away from the district administration budget, if necessary, to fund these additional AP classes and fund these additional CTE programs. Remember, we spent $50 million on district administration. I think we can find some money there to introduce additional classes.
Thank you.
Imagine, yeah, this election, is it based on a party, or it is like no party involvement?
This is non-partisan election. There's no party. I mean, parties can get involved, but it's a non-partisan election. That means the party is not.
So is any local party people are helping you, or like which party is helping you in this one? So it's kind of like, even though like in Arizona, Maricopa County, the school board elections are like supposed to be like, without party, but parties are involved. So they come like, they get their people to vote, and like usually, so like the GOP like gives a list like to whom to vote actually. So is there anything like that is happening in this particular election?
Yeah, no, I'm getting support from both Republican, Democrat, Independent, all kinds of voters and all kinds of volunteers are helping me out. It is true that that my opponents are endorsed officially by the Democratic Party or by Democrat affiliated teachers unions and so on. I'm not. I don't have any such official endorsement of any kind, or nor have I taken money from the GOP or the teachers union or any other local sort of special interest group. But certainly, some of the things that I'm saying are more appealing to certain voters than others. There is no doubt about that. And that is natural and to be expected.
Are they putting their like the support behind you? So like going door to door, or like telling their supporters to come and please like vote for you, or like
Absolutely. I know it's funny that I've got just on this Thursday, we have a sign waving. So we've got about half a dozen people volunteers coming to wave signs, and my family will add so another 3 people. One or two of my 3 volunteers have knocked on almost 1,000 doors. So of course I do more door knocking, but that's to be expected. And not only that, I should, right? Because I need to hear from the voters directly. But that's a lot. That's 1,000 in the searing heat in Seattle at 80-degree heat. These people are going out, my friends, and knocking on doors. So I'm really grateful for their support.
It's there is like a 10% chance of like if you knock on the doors, there is a 10% chance of them like voting. I mean, they will know officially the person who's like running for the elections. So they will okay, so this person has like come and like talked to me, and I'm going to vote for that one. So like you'll have a better chance of like having a face-to-face meeting with the voters.
Oh yeah, the door knocking is really important. So when I started door knocking, nobody knew me at all. Then I planted signs, street signs all over the city, and some people started recognizing me when I knocked on their door, and they were more receptive, or they were prepared maybe mentally, like, oh, Chinmay, okay, I've seen that, and so that name recognition comes. But you're right. When you talk to people in person, that's when the magic happens. And that's when you learn something. And I have learned so much in the last 3 months. I have kept on improving my plan, improving my platform, and improving my message during the course of that week.
Chinmay, a question. Are there any specific points where you feel that you might have to engage, with the public in order to prove a point that your opponents are making as being wrong or flawed or weak in some respect or the other? Have any such contentious points come up in your conversations? And is there any way that we can help you as your supporters, to publicize some of your ideas on social media, wherever?
Yeah, I think that there are some. So there's contentious points. I think that one of the points that is contentious is related to the culture wars, right? So in a public forum, for example, the question was asked, do you support LGBTQIA plus curriculum? And I don't know what, that's a very vague question, right? And so my opponent said that my whole life is about DEI, and I will inform parents about it, but they won't have a choice in what happens and what their kids are taught. And my response to that in the forum was that we need to be careful and we need to be scientific about what we expose our kids to. Like, we don't teach calculus to a 5th grader because we know they're not prepared for it. We don't teach them about guns and how wonderful they are and how, the Second Amendment is this and that. At 5th or 6th grade level or 7th grade level, even, we don't teach them about violence and certain, certain aspects of adult. And I think if a school board member or all of the school board is not comfortable, let's say, reading out a book in a public school board meeting and standing by that book, I think, as an example of a test, that would be a good test, in my opinion, to check if that book is reasonable for a 5th or 6th grader to read. And some of these books may not be. And I think the board should stand by whatever position they take, instead of setting a fight amongst all of us in the community and letting us fight amongst ourselves while taking no ownership and no accountability on themselves. So I think if I go onto the board, this is sort of one of the things I might suggest, is that it's great, if you're progressive and if you want to try new things, let's try them out in the board meeting. Let's say the paragraphs that parents are saying are objectionable. And if you can do it successfully without any problems and all the board members are present and backing it, let's do it. And if anybody doesn't back it, let them speak up, right? And so we have an open discussion and open conversation about it, instead of letting you and me and a few other people on this or that in the side of the divide fight amongst ourselves, create a hullabaloo on social media, try to trash each other, call each other names, and at the end of the day, our kids are suffering. You've seen the CAS report in the UK, right, where they realized that, oh, we went too far here, right? This is not science. This is not science, right? This is not scientific. What we're doing at the school level or at the medical level is something maybe we went too far. And I think when it comes to our kids, we cannot experiment with them. That's not right. Kids are the most vulnerable in the population. We cannot conduct experiments on them. We have to be really sure about what we are doing when it comes to kids.
So I would like to ask something very important and which is very dear to the practicing Hindus in America. So we have a Loudoun County here, and it came out in the recent past that their middle school students, they have some kind of text that they were asked to study, and then it was all negative about Hindu Dharma, caste system, Varna system, Brahman, patriarchy, and all that. And I'm sure that in all over the US it's going on. And then I observed that the school systems are very tricky. They don't allow children to take books home. I mean, especially sociology books, history books are not allowed to be taken home. So the parents cannot read and find out. Okay. So, so what is going on in Issaquah County, and if the similar things are going on, how are you going to address that?
Yeah, I think that the caste system is often cited as a part of Hinduism or something like that. They place it, first of all, they call it Hinduism. They don't use the proper name, dharma or Sanatan Dharma, etc. And then they attach to it many social evils. And I think all religions have had social evils that come out of them, right? But they are not part of the core teachings. So if you look at, for example, the Upanishads, or if you look at even oft-cited Purusha Suktam is oft-cited as evidence of God. That it's not, and I've written articles about this. But the fact is that there is a social evil, and we have to deal with that. And it's a kind of racism, and we have to make our peace with this. Just like the American history has racism in it, and one has to make peace with that, and one has to move forward. We cannot obsess over it, and we cannot keep teaching it and keep maintaining a certain sense of guilt or oppression on either side of the balance, where in either case you suffer, because if you feel you're oppressed and you feel like you're systemically oppressed, you will not feel like there's a chance for you because the system is against you. And if you feel like you should feel guilty for the actions of your distant ancestors, then what kind of way is that to live, right? You have to make choices in the present. So the history should be taught as history, and not misrepresented as something more than that, such as, oh, these people are inherently evil and racist, right? Just like we say Hindus are inherently casteist, or but I have heard this with sort of white privilege groups, right? That white population is inherently racist, right? And so these kinds of unfortunate claims are not only unscientific, but they're not backed by the evidence in the record, in history. And although, again, like I said, I'm not denying racism or the evils of the caste system, but it doesn't mean it's a systemic problem today in the minds of people that are alive today, and that they want that. They just want to have a good life. So I think we need to make sure of that. And the other thing I will say about this is that parents are responsible for understanding the curriculum that is being taught to their kids. We cannot say that we are not responsible as parents to know that what is being taught in sociology, what is being taught in history. Nowadays with AI, you can get the entire book, look at it, analyze it, figure out what's in it, and you can find out if there's anything that you want to look deeper into. And if you disagree with something, you can go to the school, you can go to the school board, you can make a statement, you can oppose it, you can file a complaint. There are many ways to bring these things up. And from my experience, whenever, at least when my daughter was in school, which is a while ago, when we went to the school and said, hey, this is not appropriate, what you're teaching here is wrong or just factually incorrect, they said, you know what, yeah, we know like some of these things are just wrong. This is what the teachers told us. And yeah, we'll make sure that this is not taught in the way that it's expressed. So we need to take responsibility as parents as well. And if we see something wrong, we should know enough about our culture and our civilization and our history or whatever to come and say that this is on the record and explain it.
See, but Chinmayji, our problem is that all other so-called religion, that Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, and also Sikh, and all those things, their textbooks are written by their so-called religious whatever gurus or whatever. But about the Hindu Dharma, the content is written by communist and leftist, and they don't say anything good points about Hindu Dharma. Everything bad, 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 bad. So I mean, are you going to evaluate your county's sociology and history books, and are you going to try to fix them?
Yeah, so
problems.
As a board member, board members are not responsible for curriculum, right? So that is explicitly set by the superintendent. So board members cannot dictate curriculum either way, but board members can, on occasion, if there is a complaint filed against a particular sort of teaching or something, that goes through the system, and if there is an appeal, then it can come to the board. And I will certainly take all complaints that come to me with the other board members and discuss with them. Given that I know some of the history and I have some of the background, I'm sure that I can explain the situation to them. I can explain the facts of the matter, both in terms of what is written in the actual scripture or actual, let's say Bhagavad Gita or Rigveda or Upanishads, and say, look, these other sources and books are secondary or tertiary sources, and we cannot teach kids something based on secondary or tertiary sources. Things have to come from primary sources. And so we can have those conversations, but we don't set curriculum, but we can influence. And again, I'm saying this very, very strongly. Parents have a responsibility. What I have observed oftentimes is that parents who are from India, etc., they're not aware of what's happening, and they get surprised when they find out when their kids are in 10th grade or 11th grade that they've been learning all this for the last 6 years. So, this sort of, lack of attention to sociology, lack of attention to history, this is a problem. Just like we have, somebody was saying that, Indian kids like to do better in math and science. Well, at the same time, we don't focus on history, social sciences in general. And so I think this is a gap in our community that we need to address. And when we address it, and we are as attuned to the importance of social science as we are to the importance of math and physics and so on, I think we will see a change in both the schools and the curriculum that is taught, as well as in general in the health of the community.
Thank you, Chinmay.
Chinmay, I just wanted.
Oh yeah, go ahead,
Sorry.
Mehul. Yeah, go ahead,
I have
Mehul.
one question. I mean, are you aware of how syllabi are accredited in Washington State? Is it a school district-based accreditation? Because usually, syllabi have to be accredited at least one semester prior to when they are taught. So, how does it work? I mean, I'm just trying to understand.
That's a good question. I haven't looked into how the curriculum is accredited, and at what stage parents come to find out what's going to be in the curriculum. But I do know that the curriculum is published in advance, and parents have a chance to look into it. So that opportunity has to be advertised perhaps in a better way, and the community has to be more attuned to jumping on that and checking if they have any concerns and going out. Look, I have been to many board meetings. I've been to multiple board meetings now, maybe half a dozen or a dozen. I have not seen one parent from the Indian community come and complain in a board meeting, which means that either there is no problem, or they're not aware, or they're not comfortable to come out and speak about it. And if it's the lack of comfort, what can we do?
Most of our Bharatiya parents, they want to put their child in Ivy League or very big college. They don't care.
Exactly. That's the problem, right? You don't care about history. You don't care about social science in general. You don't even care about civics and how to participate in civic engagement. Then your kids are going to grow up without learning that too, in a sense, or learning the wrong things, and then going to college, and you find out, right, when they grow up, which is unfortunate.
Thank you, Chinmayji. And how can we support you? We all want you to win. I think this is a question that I'm asking on behalf of everybody over here. I don't think anyone else will have an objection to my asking this question. How can we help you win?
Exactly.
Many of us are not in Washington State, but we all have friends over there. We all have connections, and there is a very substantial Indian community over there. We work through university alumni groups, we work through community groups,
Yeah.
Language sanghs, and things like that. So, what can we do to help you win?
That's a great question. So go to votechinmay.org, VOTECHINMAY.org. Over there, you will find my message. You will find some video content. You will find an FAQ. And you can share my website with your friends on social media. Have them share with 5 friends and ask them to share with 5 other friends. Right? I'm not a social media expert, but there's some sort of standard memes out there about how we share stuff on social media. So I think we can do that. In terms of support, I want to let people know who are on H-1B. You can volunteer, but you cannot donate and you cannot vote. Most people know this, but you can volunteer and you can go to school board meetings and speak out. You can email me if you have any questions, or if you want to learn how I got my information, or how I came to certain conclusions, or how I feel about certain topics, or what I've learned from the community. Please email me. My email is votechinmay@gmail.com. I love to hear from people, and I love to respond as quickly as possible, which I will do. And then finally, those who have green cards, for example, can donate, and those who are citizens can not only donate, but also they can stand for school board themselves. And I'm willing to help them when they stand for school board and back them up. Even though I may not be local to them, I will help them in any way I can. And I will document all of the work I'm doing right now and share it with them. So these are all the ways you can help me, because my purpose is not only to win the school board, but my purpose is to help as many people as possible to stand for school board, to participate in their local school board, to speak up, to look into what is going on in the schools and teach their kids what is right and what is wrong, and help not just our community, but all Americans to to get a grip on the education problem, because this is not something I can fix in the school board. This is a national problem that we have to fix. So let's make it a movement. That is my whether we, I'm definitely going to win. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, of
But
course you're going to win.
but in any case, we need to make a movement out of this so that we create a sustained effort across the whole country.
Thank you.
Yeah, great,
And
Chinmay ji, and we wish you all the best. And you're definitely going to win. And like as Mehul ji just said, we are going to like bombard like whatever people we know around there to just like come. Is it only vote by mail, or are there the election day voting is there right now on August 5th?
I have to tell you, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's vote only, mail only. This is mail in, so everybody gets mail in ballots, and they can go and vote, but they drop. I mean, when I vote, I drop the ballot into the ballot box instead of mailing it back. But I think it's all ballots being mailed to the voters.
Because in the Seattle, there is an attorney general primary elections are also going on. So I mean, that's like one thing like we have it in like here in Maricopa. So for all the primaries, there is like not there are like many voting locations are being like started like 10, 15 days earlier. So it should be, yeah.
Everyone I know has a ballot at their home. It's already been mailed on July 16th. Everyone has a ballot. Many people have already sent it in. If you haven't sent it in, it's sitting in your mailbox. Go check it, check your mailbox, open the ballot and vote. It's really important that you vote and that you send your ballot in before August 5th. If your ballot is not postmarked before August 5th, it will not be accepted. And better yet, just go and drop it off at a local ballot box. For example, in Newcastle, we have a ballot box in Newcastle near the City Hall. If you don't know where your ballot box is, call City Hall, call your local representative and find out.
Chinmay ji, the one question that I've been active since politically since 2020. So we have observed that in Washington D.C. area, I mean Maryland and Northern Virginia. So the primary elections are very thinly voted. So I mean, how is it in your area?
That is the case, right? Primary elections are thinly voted typically. I think that what I've observed is that this is first of all, it's an off-year election, right? So it's 2025. And the primaries thinly voted on top of that. So if you have a bunch of people who are militantly trying to make sure that you win, that is certainly a challenge. And I think creating that groundswell requires a ton of effort, which is why I've been knocking on doors, because that is how you create the awareness in the community. Many people, I knocked on a door and a lady opened the door and she said, "Oh yeah, primary elections are not so important." And I said, no, primary elections are very important, especially this one. So, there is that feeling, but this lady had actually, she had voted, but she was saying that they're not so important, because I don't think people understand that in school board election nowadays, things are very competitive because there are big issues to be fought. There's a lot of special interests. And my wife tells me, don't talk about special interests. Don't put yourself in any danger. But there are special interests, and there are people who are very afraid of losing the kind of perks and the kind of setup that they have right now in many different respects. And I won't go into the details, but we need to think about our future and do the right thing. And I hope that the voters in Issaquah district in the school district will recognize that and come out in large numbers and vote.
Chinmay-ji, would media coverage help, particularly community media channels, national channels?
Yeah, I think national channels might help. If we had more time, perhaps, because we have now 1 week to the primary. And so there isn't much time. Most people are quite busy with their lives, and by the time news gets to them, it can be a month, it can be weeks before that happens, especially on a national sort of channel. I have given an interview to a channel called, I think it's called Seattle Wala. It's a local news kind of online social media channel where they do interviews of candidates. And we just did that interview on Thursday, and it'll get published sometime this week. I think that is going to go directly to Seattle Indian voters, and we can share that out to other voters as well. In fact, my daughter took my interview, and she was given questions by the organizing committee. But yeah, I think at this stage, I don't know, but yeah, everything helps. And even if, like I said, whatever happens in the primary, we need to create awareness of these problems. So we create a national movement. And for that, you need a national media, you need national coverage, you need national awareness. So we have to start building that up.
I will try. I'll
Yeah,
try.
please.
I'll try to work on that. I have friends, including at the NYT. Uh, I mean, I don't know how whether I'll be able to get them to work on something as fast as this, but I'll try. Let's see what we can do.
And even if it's longer, I think it's worth creating awareness.
So do you have team for doing canvassing in Facebook and Instagram and X? Like, do you have a social media canvassing team?
No, I actually don't have a social media canvassing team. So I had to make a choice between doing social media and getting my hands dirty in that, which is a full-time, it takes hours to do that correctly. Because the written word is really important, right? Like, once you put something down on paper, it can be twisted and turned, and in all kinds of ways. And so doing that is not trivial. And so I've tried my best to have a social media presence. I created some YouTube videos. I created a Facebook page, but frankly, that has not been my focus, because I wanted to meet people face to face. One of the problems, in my opinion, in society in general, is that we have stopped talking to each other. We don't know who our neighbors are. We have become atomized. We are disconnected from the whole. And as a result of that, we have immersed ourselves into these little virtual worlds where we speak to each other in echo chambers. But deep down inside, we know that it's not reality. And so this is the other thing I want to do. I want to create a culture among all of us who want to make change in society, to go and knock on doors and talk to people in person. And I could not make a case for it until I had done that myself intensely for months and learned from it, so that I can help anybody else who wants to do that with all kinds of crazy tips about, the fact of the matter is that all of the guidance that you might get about door knocking from old timers, people who did it 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it's all out of date, because technology has changed. You've got Ring cameras, you've got social media, people are on their phones. There's all kinds of, new sort of circumstances that have developed. So that when people are worried about crime, so I have all kinds of tips and tricks to get a maximum door open rate, as I call it, right? How can we get people to open the door and talk to you? And so that's the kind of learning I wanted. So I made the conscious choice to not focus on my own time on social media. And unfortunately, there was a couple of people who started helping, but they could not pull through. And so that part of it, of the equation.
So out of the 70,000 voters, how many voters are Indian? Do you have that data?
Yeah, about 2,000 voters are Indians.
Okay, so out of which, if 500 comes to vote for you, so that will be a good number.
Yeah.
I don't know, in Washington DC area, we at least I identified like 81 Facebook Indian groups, and then if I want to promote an event, like I volunteer for Hindu uh, a matchmaking organization, Hindu.
Yeah, please.
So when they have a matchmaking event in our area in person, so I'll go to all those 81 Facebook groups, and I don't say anything. I just put the flyer and then accompanying a message, So I don't engage in any kind of back and forth, So
Absolutely.
that's what.
So I think one of the challenges we have with, so one of the things we could do is, people could take a post. I've created standard posts that people can, copy, paste, and drop in, right, into some feed. But the fact is that a lot of Indians are not interested in politics or scared to talk about any kind of, even non-partisan, elections. They see that as somehow dangerous. And this is something that has been drummed into us because we go through a long H-1B process and a long green card process, and then we get citizenship. During that whole H-1B time, we are kind of conditioned mentally not to get involved in politics because we might have to go anytime. And plus, there are rules that say you can't do certain things in politics as a H-1B visa holder. So a lot of people are mentally not ready to jump into it. They're not conditioned for it. And but I think activists such as all of us here and others, we need to start doing that, because at the end of the day, this is about schools, and we should develop the necessary courage to do something about it. But I understand when people don't do it and they're scared because they have jobs and they worry about retaliation and all kinds of things.
But we had one candidate here in 2022, a Hindu candidate for US Congress, and she was running in the primary, and they're like in that district there are like 10,000 Indian votes, and it was very thinly voted primary, and then I mean the so then she did not have. She ignored Hindus and Indian people, and she just lost by 149 votes. So,
I have a list of 2,000 Indian voters with their phone numbers, and because those are some of the voters that came through registration, etc. And I'm willing to share some of the contacts that I have, and we can, if you have a phone banking, we can do that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So then Rajiv ji and rest of the people here, can we organize phone banking? So I mean, I can promise 100 phone calls possibly, but if we have other more volunteers, so then they can take 100
Absolutely.
20 volunteers like that, we can cover all 2,000 phone numbers.
Yeah, that'll be great. Yeah, and
absolutely, we can do that.
I have texted I have texted a lot of people and to try to create awareness. So that's there. But I think phone calls are better than texts, and knocking on doors is better than phone calls. But phone calls are second best. So definitely, if you can do that, that'll be great.
Thank you. We'd be happy to.
So I mean the phone banking, how do you want to organize? Who is the POC?
So given that I have to knock on doors every day and I have a full-time job, I would appreciate if somebody could volunteer for that role. But I have no preference. I mean, it's only 1 week left, so I don't want to impose on anyone. But if we have a setup that we can use from prior experiment or a prior run, I'm happy to do my part in it. But I do feel like, for example, there are lots of apartment complexes, right, where I haven't visited yet. And in apartment complexes, typically the voting turnout rate is much lower because those guys are much more busy with their lives, and a lot going on there. But you can also reach a lot of people in a very short period of time. So, for example, yesterday I visited about 600 doors in 1 day of door knocking, because I went to 3 apartment complexes with about 200 doors each. And so you get a pretty good door open rate, about 30, 40, 50% sometimes. And you can talk to a lot of people in a short time. So I'm going to focus on that because it's much higher impact. And in the meantime, if you can get some people to just start making phone calls, I think it's only 2,000. So it's like if you get 20 people and 100 each, you can make 100 phone calls.
Chinmay ji, okay. The election day is August 5th, but what is the last day to mail? You mentioned that one in Arizona.
August 5th. August 5th.
So you can still mail the
On August 5th. Yeah.
on August 5th, even though it's the last day, like here, like you have to mail it, they will say it like 2 or
Let's
3 days
assume-
before.
I think it's August 5th, but we can assume August 4th and plan accordingly. So it's July 27th, right? So 8, 9, 10, 31st, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 9 days. In 9 days, 20 people, 100 phone calls. That's like 10 phone calls a day. That's nothing.
So Chinmay, I would recommend you have supporters all over the US. So you know them. So I would recommend to create a temporary WhatsApp group until August 5th and add those supporters. And I will volunteer for coordination of phone banking.
Oh,
But
thank
I
you.
don't know who are who all are your supporters. I mean, the strong supporters will do on the ground. I mean, I have volunteers here in the Washington D.C. area, but I cannot guarantee that they'll be so much committed to do phone banking for you. I cannot guarantee
Okay.
that.
Okay, guys, like we have to end the meeting. I think we are losing the Zoom connection, and we wish Chinmay ji all the best. And he's going to like win. And the next time, like we have this meeting, so he's going to tell us like how we won the election. Okay, with all the details.
All right.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
We'll have a celebration.
Namaskar.
Thank you.